one of the messages that investors seem to have been sending in the past few months is they want Elon Musk more focused on the challenges at Tesla, which are extreme right now. It is not just that he is busy in Washington or busy in politics. It's that Tesla is at a pivotal moment.
Tim Higgins, Wall Street Journal columnist and author of Power Play, Tesla, Elon Musk, and the Bet of the Century. Thank you so much for joining the Tech Report today.
Well, thank you.
Let's start off with, of course, the big news coming out of the tech world, which is Elon Musk's AI tool, Grok. This made waves at the time when people were using it. Of course, it's meant to be for truth seekers on X, formerly Twitter, of course, but the big story out of it today is, of course, that Grok has been spinning some pretty anti-Semitic remarks about the Jewish community in response to a user who was actively celebrating the deaths of dozens of children that were killed by the floods at that Christian camp in Texas. Now, Grok literally praised Hitler. It referred to itself as Mecca Hitler and called for people with certain names to be eliminated. So, Tim, can you walk me through how this even happens?
Yeah, this is nightmare scenario stuff for these big tech companies who are trying to roll out AI and not yet having kind of a grasp on all the things that can happen, right? We saw some embarrassing examples in recent years, and Musk was very aggressive in jumping on those flubs by others and talking about how his AI was going to be not woke, it was going to be out there maximum truth-seeking. And in fact, a few weeks ago, some of his users were complaining that Grok was starting to become a little woke, and they didn't like it. And Musk was embarrassed, and he said it was going to get a tune-up. He was going to retrain it on better truth, if you will, on these sorts of things. And clearly, the pendulum has swung. And it's a challenge. It's clearly an embarrassment, but also it gets at something that's going on with these big tech companies when it comes to these chatbots. Part of the way that they want to differentiate themselves is by creating a user experience where the user feels like they're having a discussion with a friend. The tone, the style, the worldview is similar to their own, and that will build kind of a relationship and kind of keep the user engaged and going forward. And so when you hear Mark Zuckerberg out there talking about how people don't have enough friends and how Meta is thinking this could be, their AI could be a solution for that, or when you hear Microsoft's AI chief out there talking about how he wants Microsoft's AI to be friendly and supportive, but not going into the chaos. He wants to have guardrails to make sure the kind of thing that Musk just experienced doesn't happen there. And then you've got Musk, who's got Grok, and clearly trying to position it for perhaps a right-leaning audience out there who doesn't want the kind of the Silicon Valley liberal view.
Well, I mean, Tim, we saw this front and center when Elon Musk literally bought X. It was one of the reasons why he bought X, because he wanted free speech. He wanted Twitter to be less left-leaning. But what was interesting, you mentioned that Elon Musk had been receiving criticism for it being too woke, for Grok being too woke. What's clearly happened is that the AI tool was asked about why he I'm going to call it a he, was using hate speech. And it literally said that Elon Musk's recent tweaks, recent modifications to the program dialed back the PC filters, and that the update from this weekend told the model to not shy away from making claims which are politically incorrect as long as they are well substantiated. So in other words, Elon Musk has basically loosened the filters on what Grok can say, which has resulted in this anti-Semitic outburst from this robot.
Yeah, clearly taking a turn that would leave most corporate leaders incredibly embarrassed and searching for some answers. X is talking about how they're looking into it. They're clear pulled down those results. It's a balance, and it's been a balance for X under Musk since he acquired Twitter. This free speech ideal. The difference here, this isn't users creating this content. This is his own AI. It is an extension of XAI's brand, of Musk himself. And this isn't really the place that the conversation he probably wants to be having.
And it's not the first scandal for Grok. In May, Grok said that there was a white genocide in South Africa, and then of course in the last week we've seen Grok say a number of things about the Jewish community. Literally said Israel was that clingy ex still whining about the Holocaust. Now, I wonder, does Musk need to implement some sort of measures or some sort of regulations, or at least be told to combat this? Like, of course, he's very pro-speech, Tim, but the response from X was, we are aware of the recent post made by Grok and we are actively working to remove the inappropriate posts since being made aware of the content. XAI has taken action to ban hate speech before Grok posts it. But look, obviously, deleting the post is not going to solve the issue. So I wonder if they'll take this example and what happened in May and just completely ignore the woke accusations and just think, okay, we've got to regulate this a little bit more.
It's definitely about putting in some safeguards and some guardrails and all that kind of stuff. I would anticipate that it continues to lead towards the Musk point of view, just given it's his sandbox, and that's kind of the branding they're taking. This is going a little farther than he probably wanted, as you kind of anticipate. What it does, broadly speaking, is highlight for the industry the challenges of this deploying this AI in this new field, and to kind of your point, the guardrails that need to be put in place to protect reputations, but also protect users. And that's the debate going on, and this will add more fuel to that. There is already a group out there who wants regulatory kind of guidelines for AI to make sure that it does not get out of bounds. And this is just yet another example that will probably be thrown on that pile of examples they're using.
And one of the things I find interesting is because we saw obviously Donald Trump and Elon Musk have this online showdown last month when it was revealed that they'd had this falling out. Elon Musk claimed that the president was in the Epstein files. He later said that he regrets posting some of what he said about Donald Trump, but he didn't exactly specifically say, I regret posting about Epstein. He didn't say it was an incorrect thing to say. I wonder, Tim, do you think that Elon Musk weaponizes his influence on X a bit?
This is something he's done before. I think of years ago when there was a critic of his in relationship to the effort to rescue a youth soccer team from the caves in Thailand. And one of those people said that his efforts, they were critical of it. And Musk suggested this person was a pedophile. And this resulted in a lot of attention, litigation. Musk was eventually found that he did not defame this person. But nevertheless, to your point, he can go off. He sees it, and he talked about it at the time, as a playground, like a playground fight. And if he feels like he's being poked at, he will punch back. And this is kind of his online persona. What is different in recent years is that he is now the world's richest man. He has more than 200 million followers. He actually owns the platform. The rules are his for the making, and he can use that bully pulpit to literally bully people, and we have seen it time and time again. It is part of the power that he has and he wields on a regular basis. Politicians worried about getting sideways with him, these sorts of things. And the interesting part of that dynamic is how he has kind of tried to use it and not use it in his fights with Donald Trump, another very powerful individual, clearly the president of the United States, but also somebody who has used social media in a very similar way to reward and to punish people out there in the world. And so these two kind of giants, Godzilla versus King Kong, if you will, out on social media throwing, lobbing missiles at each other is pretty dramatic and really unprecedented.
And the question that we're not going to be able to answer, Tim, is I just always think with Elon Musk and Donald Trump is, Do these two stop time? Because I don't know how two of the busiest, most powerful men in the world have the time to be having these online fights. And not even that, Elon Musk is prolific on X. He is replying to absolutely everything. I remember a few years ago, he would literally be replying to everything Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez was saying online, that he just doesn't stop. But I want to get into a few things happening in Elon Musk's world outside of X. Tesla bull Dan Ives last week, he proposed that Elon Musk orchestrate a merger with Tesla and his AI company XAI. There'd be a few hurdles in order to do this, especially as Tesla is a public company, and then they'd have to raise around $15 billion. But I've said that the benefits outweigh the risks on this idea. Elon Musk responded saying, "Shut up, Dan." But Tim, walk me through why Dan Ives would propose a merger between these two companies, I should say, sorry, that Elon Musk owns and runs.
Yeah. It gets back to a long, kind of simmering kind of controversy at Tesla, and that is how to compensate Elon Musk. Years ago, the board and then shareholders approved it, a massive pay package, really unprecedented in size for Musk. He had to achieve certain goals. A lot of people didn't think it was going to be possible. He did, but then there was a shareholder lawsuit, and a judge struck it down. Last year, the shareholders again approved it, and the judge struck it down. And so for many years now, Musk has essentially not been paid, and he's very salty about this because in that time, the valuation of Tesla has just gone to the moon, and that was part of kind of one of his milestones that he needed to accomplish. And so he's out there, he hasn't received this, it's in limbo, and on top of that, he has made it very clear that he wants a larger percentage ownership of Tesla. He's already the single largest owner, but he wants more. What he says he really wants is the ability to have greater influence over the direction of the company. He's worried, he says, about activist shareholders, and he wants to be able to block that kind of stuff. So he wants a bigger chunk of that Tesla. There's an idea that's been floating out there that by Tesla acquiring XAI, which has a huge valuation, not as huge as Tesla, but a large one given its infancy, that would then be a vehicle to give Elon a bigger share of Tesla. So that's kind of the boring math part of it all. It would also align kind of Musk's AI ambitions with Tesla and Tesla shareholders, who really have been kind of sold this idea that Tesla is an AI company. So there's those ideas. I think one of the challenges of that is Musk has really kind of turned away from the idea of publicly owned companies. He remember a few years ago, he famously tried to take Tesla private, unhappy with kind of the demands of the public markets and short sellers out there betting against him. He's had a lot of success in the private markets with SpaceX and all these other companies that he started, being able to raise the funds that 20 years ago, private companies really didn't have access to. And so in a lot of ways, he doesn't necessarily need to be public, and that gives him a lot of cover to run XAI the way he wants to do it. This controversy this week would be just so much larger around XAI and Grok if it was publicly traded. If it was part of Tesla, this would be potentially an existential challenge for the company. As a private company, he can move on, fix it, and fight another day. It's just so much easier.
And it has been a turbulent time with the shareholders, especially for Tesla, Tim. But Elon Musk, he announced that he's starting his own independent third party, the America Party, this week. This comes off, of course, the feud with Donald Trump. But this announcement, Tesla stocks tumbled 7% over the weekend after this announcement. But is there correlation between this announcement and Tesla and the value and the confidence that shareholders and potential shareholders have with the company?
One of the messages that investors seem to have been sending in the past few months is they want Elon Musk more focused on the challenges at Tesla, which are extreme right now. It is not just that he is busy in Washington or busy in politics. It's that Tesla is at a pivotal moment. Musk has made a sort of bet the company sort of play, pivoting away from being solely focused on the idea of making cars and selling them, and that's how they make profits, to becoming a robotics company, a robot taxi company, a humanoid robot firm with the idea of making many, many of these humanoid robots. And the technology is not yet proven. And that's a challenge. And he has just begun to deploy robot taxis in a very limited way in Austin, Texas. And he's making the case that he can scale very quickly, but there are skeptics. He is very far behind Alphabet's Waymo, which has robot taxis in many cities here in the U.S. I'm in San Francisco. I see them every day. I have used them. It's scaling, whereas Musk has been talking about robot taxis for many, many years and has just gotten to the point where he can deploy it. Maybe. We don't know if he can do it on scale yet. He hasn't demonstrated that. That's the bigger drama for Tesla. And then you've got Musk, who's out there so busy. You can't feel sorry for investors who say that he's preoccupied. They knew that from kind of the get-go. He's been running SpaceX. He's got all these other startups. But his foray into politics has been even probably more extreme. There has been brand effects on the brand. Democrats in the U.S. Very turned off by what Musk has been doing. And now Republicans perhaps turned off by what Musk has been doing. So you've got that challenge. And then also you've got him taking on the White House and Trump. One of the things that was seen as the positive of Musk's endeavors in politics was it's great to have a friend in the White House. It's great to have the White House on speed dial to address those issues that Musk has been complaining about. He's in heavily regulated industries. His autonomous car projects depend heavily on navigating some of that. So that was the upside. And now that he's kind of essentially an enemy of the White House, it raises questions about new regulatory challenges he's going to have. So you throw all that together, and Tesla investors had already been pushing for him to re-engage at Tesla, and now it's clear he's not giving up this bone. He's going to apparently be fighting the White House and Republicans for the next 18 months.
You mentioned it was a pivotal time for Tesla. Obviously, that announcement that he is moving back into the political space, it wiped about $68 billion off the market cap. But Dan Ives, he said that it's a tipping point time in Tesla's story, and we obviously saw back in around May, there were reports that the board of directors for Tesla were looking at potentially looking for a new CEO, that he was too preoccupied, as you mentioned. So now that he has not only left Doge, come back, but now decided that he's literally going to launch his own party, do you think that the board of directors are thinking again, okay, Elon Musk needs to step down as a CEO, we need someone more focused?
Well, they're between a rock and a hard place here in a lot of ways. They have a fiduciary duty to protect shareholders, but the question is Tesla better off without Elon Musk or with a hugely distracted Elon Musk who can still sell that vision of the future of the automobile, the future of robotics, and has kind of kept excitement going? The challenge is made more complicated because there's really a feeling among many that there is an Elon Musk premium in the stock. If Musk is not at Tesla, is the company as innovative? Is it able to kind of deploy new technology in the same way that it's been able to do, right? So they're kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't. But you get to the point that they are the board, and they at some point have to do something, right? They seem to have tried to scare him into kind of, hey, get back to Tesla. He said over the years he doesn't want to be the CEO of Tesla. And I kind of roll my eyes at that whenever he says it at this point, because yes, he does not want the boring parts of being the chief executive officer of a major company, but without a doubt, he wants to be the boss. It's his vision. It's his toy. He wants to have the final say on the big stuff. And the question is, does he have the team around him at Tesla to implement and to execute? He has been going through yet again another round of leadership changes, longtime people leaving. This has been kind of common over the years. That's been one of the challenges. Early on, he was able to attract really talented people that helped make Tesla. I think of the likes of Peter Rawlinson, who was the chief engineer on the Model S. I think of J.B. Straubel, who was one of the founders, who is the brains behind the battery packs. The list could go on, and those folks, JB is now on the board, but a lot of the talent has left. There are still smart people there, but it's not clear that they are empowered or they will stay long enough to have an impact. And that's kind of the question that it kind of hangs over Tesla as we look out. They have become a sustainable company, but if they are going to be a multi-generational company, Musk has to figure out how to develop leadership.
But I wondered, Tim, if he would ever relinquish control, if he would ever step down as CEO, if he felt that his other hobbies, his other interests, his other jobs were hindering the development, the innovation of Tesla, so much that it wasn't a situation where the board of directors forced him out or shareholders were publicly criticizing him, but he came to his own conclusion that, okay, it's time to step away.
I mean, he's just a few months ago, or in recent months, he has talked about how he expects to be CEO for several more years at least. He has in the past talked about how he wanted to transition into kind of a role out of the day-to-day, whether it's chief product architect, similar to the ways at SpaceX. You could imagine him in a chairman role. He lost that chairman role years ago because of various other controversies. But yeah, that's an interesting question. I have talked to him in the past about it, and he has talked about this struggle of finding somebody who could take over. They've tried to find CEOs. They've tried to find a strong number two. He has a strong number two at SpaceX who really takes a lot of that burden, the day-to-day burden, away from him, and it lets him focus on the fun stuff that he enjoys. The challenge with Tesla is it's not rocket science, but it is extremely complicated building and selling cars. And the way he has operated, the way he has treated people, there's a reputation out there. I've heard from people inside the company who tell horror stories about trying to recruit new executives. The best of the best are hesitant to go there because they know that Musk can be erratic and they might not last. And that's kind of the situation is now. Maybe they can find somebody. It's a new day. Maybe Musk has become so distracted and so on to other things that maybe this is the opportunity. It seems unlikely, though.
Just a final question, Tim. The Guardian did a big spread over the weekend about how there was a terrifying truth behind Tesla cars crashing, burning, and accelerating with the self-driving aspect of it. But is this becoming increasingly common that drivers might lose control, or is it more of like a headline story?
You know, it's interesting. From the get-go, Tesla has kind of struggled with claims about safety. They have a very good safety kind of rating in the U.S. The issue gets around fires in the car. The batteries that are in the vehicle are highly flammable, and one of the kind of breakthroughs in technology that Tesla had early on was figuring out a way to keep those batteries from exploding, right? I mean, that was the big breakthrough. When you look at the data, Tesla would say they don't have the number of fires in electric vehicles really is less and less kind of in comparison to gas-powered vehicles. I mean, you think about all the gasoline going around in these vehicles that are like bombs themselves. It gets to, when you look at it, a lot of it is the containment issue. When firefighters have to put these vehicles out, it's much more complicated. So that gets a lot of headlines. It got a lot of headlines for years. And then you couple that with the kind of the way that Musk and Tesla has rolled out its advanced driver assistance programs, the autopilot, FSD, a step towards autonomous, but not quite yet. Those drivers are in charge of the vehicle. And we have seen time and time again people not using the system the way it was designed for, perhaps because they think it can do more than it could do. And Musk has talked about early on the problem with the system is that people think it can do more than it can do because it is so good. And that's been a challenge, and that's been a criticism by outsiders that Musk has made design decisions, or Tesla has made design decisions that are not preventing abuse or preventing misuse. And that's kind of the baggage hanging over Tesla as it goes into fully autonomous technology, concerns that of user safety. Now, Musk would say his vehicles are safer than others, that it's better than nothing, that sort of thing. But the way he has handled the kind of the rollout of this autopilot and FSD is definitely the legacy he has to deal with in this new realm.
Tim Higgins, thank you so much for joining the Tech Report today.
Thank you.